Hello, everyone, and welcome to Reignite Your Sparkle. I am Ingela, and I'm your host. And today is the best day of my life. Second up since my daughter was born. Okay. Alison Armstrong is in my house. Welcome, Alison.
Thank you.
I am beyond excited. It is a true honor to have you with us. Alison Armstrong. I'm going to give you a little backstory. When I was going through my divorce, I started doing Tony Robbins, and he referenced to the Queen's Code and how we relate to men and opposite. I got the books. I got the second book. I got the third book. Queen's Code changed my life. I gave it to my daughter. She was 18, maybe. I gave it to friends. Queen's Code changed the way I relate to men, the way I saw men. And I want you to, can you just tell us a little bit about that? And then we kind of dig in like the other aspects to reignite our sparkle and how to go about and do that.
Yeah, I'll try to make it really short. I started studying men in 1991 when I found out that I was a frog farmer, just as Kimberly in the Queen's Code, because it's fiction, finds out. And I made a commitment to studying men, to find out how was I bringing out the worst in them. I honestly thought it would take 2 or 3 months to learn everything that was worth knowing about them. This was February of 1991. And I got hooked. They're fascinating and they're so different. And they have so much to say about women. They adore us and they get hurt by us way more than we think. And so it makes her kind of a mess coming and going. And after a couple of years of studying men, I knew I had to write a book to help other women because I was completely transformed. And the thing about it, though, Ingela, is that I didn't write it. I researched in order to write that book for over 15 years. Wow. I needed to know all the ways women brought out the worst in men. I needed to know what triggered us. I needed to know how we justified the way we behaved them. I want to know every which way about it, including how we could bring out the best in them. And it took a very long time before I knew that I knew how to write it. But when I sat down to write it, I didn't write it. I watched a movie and typed as fast as I could. No one can write a 96,000 word book in 3 weeks. I did not write it. I watched and I typed and typed and typed and typed as fast as I could. And when I recorded the audio book, which came out just 6 months ago, the movie was right there for me, reading the story and the emotion and the intensity and the sincerity and the beauty and the sensuality and like everything that those 8 characters embody was right there for me. And you can hear the emotion in my voice. There are times when I had to stop and re-record because I was bawling my eyes out. And the audiobook, I just want everybody to listen to the audiobook. It's only available on our website. I have not given it to Audible yet, and I may never. But yeah, that's how I started and where it came full circle. And in the meantime, one of the things that men loved to tell me about is about women sparkling. That is actually their word. And so I've learned a lot about. Oh, really? Oh yeah. They use that word to describe. Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. They describe women sparkling. And so I made a study of women sparkling. So I'm glad to be here too.
This is amazing because the Queen's Code is talking about how actually, because men are providers and they are protectors, right? But we are turning them into frogs, basically. So they have to protect themselves from us.
Well said.
And when you start thinking about that, and when you talk about your book, I see the movie too. Is there a movie coming out? I mean, that would be amazing.
I don't know.
It's
I've
just,
cast it, do you know? More than once I've cast it,
oh,
but
you
I
did.
don't know if there'll ever be a movie.
Oh, let's put it out there. Let me see here. Oh gosh, I can cast it in. I'm getting ideas now.
Yes.
Yes. Well, from how we communicate with men changed my life, because I see friends and how they communicate, and even my own thoughts when I had gone through my divorce and in my dating life, kind of like what I put out there and what I learned from, actually, I think I just heard it or read it again, because I just read all the books again. I did it maybe 5 years ago. I just went over them all again. And you read it, and I want to listen to it now again, because now that's going to give me a different set of ears, right? And I want to just be transformed again even more.
Yes.
But it's the way how men and we relate to each other, right? And what I found out was, I wrote down because I'm not going to remember. So men love 4 things: self-confidence, authenticity, passion, and receptivity. Correct?
Well, it's more than they love it. Those are the 4 most attractive qualities
Attractive
in women.
qualities in a woman.
Yeah. And to gravitate, right, is part of the word of attract, to draw in.
Yes.
And those qualities cause men to love women. A particular woman causes them to fall in love, causes them to want to take care of her, causes them to want to make her life better. Like, how can I contribute to her? And they're really important to understand, because instinctually and culturally, we appeal to the most primitive side of men. We tend to lead with physical attraction. And we don't realize how much that can put them off balance, which makes them feel like they got to scramble for a footing, which is one of the ways we bring the worst out in them. It also just appeals to them physically, not emotionally or spiritually or intellectually. And so we end up provoking the most primitive behavior in men, which scares us when they're that way.
Yes.
And this is a huge part of the sparkle. One of the things that a woman has to feel in order to be sparkly is she has to feel safe.
Yes.
And we feel safe when we're in the presence of men that we know really are for us. Like, he'll take care of me. He's got me. Right? He likes me just the way I am, whether it's a brother, a father, a friend. It doesn't have to be romantic. It's just the presence of a man that we feel liked and loved and cared about by, and we will naturally sparkle.
You know, for myself in my journey, I have not felt safe with a man. And I can pinpoint, other than my dad, I can pinpoint, like, in past, after my marriage, I can pinpoint like experience, like that moment when I felt safe, the way he moved towards me because I said something, the way somebody else did something else for me, where they walked on the outside of the street. I can pinpoint, because it's been so rare. So then when I'm like, ooh, I really like this guy because he's making me feel safe. And you go, but should I not? Because here's me, strong, independent woman. Shouldn't I try to make myself feel safe?
Well, ultimately, safe enough,
right,
is a conscious choice we have to make, because a whole part of the way that our mind works and the kind of awareness that women have is in order to monitor our safety constantly. But the more you learn about men and how well-meaning they are, how protective they are, how there's a very small percentage of what a man would call a bad man. There's a small percentage of bad men. And men are actually much better at detecting bad men than women are. So the way one man put it was, you can't tell the difference between a wolf and a sheepdog if all you're looking for is teeth.
Oh.
Yeah, so women see teeth. We see wolves everywhere. But if we look closer, the sheepdogs are actually much better at telling the difference between a sheepdog and a wolf. and so this is what has me mostly sparkle. I go through life sparkling because I know I can count on them. Now, I've been working on this for over 30 years, so it takes time to develop that kind of trust. But I know I can count on them to take care of me. If they can, they will. They might be focused on something else, so I have to get their attention. I have to ask for help, and then they're right there. But the more we understand men better and what they're responding to, the more we can relax, the safer we'll feel in the world. I feel safe with strangers. And then we also have to, trust the bad vibe. We've learned to not trust ourselves because, oh, but he's so cute. We think we try to fix men who we should just stay the heck away from. And so when we can learn to trust our own boundaries, that also makes us safe, also allows us to sparkle. And there's some other things too. I made a lot of notes. There's some other things.
I know. I love it. I love it. I love it too, because the whole, when I was giving the list of the self-confidence and all of that, for me, what was missing was the receptivity. And I don't think I really I think it was after an event, and I just surrendered. And then after that, I met these amazing men, and they were providing for me, and I was just blown away. And it's just because I released that, oh no, I got this. I got that. Again, strong, independent woman. I got this. I got that. Been single for a while now. I can, I can do it myself. Right. Not that you should not do things by yourself. I love fixing things and drilling and hammering and because it makes me feel strong, and I love doing things like that. But having a man open the door for you, lead you to the car, treating you like a queen, and just seeing their eyes just light up when you're saying thank you and you sparkle, it's such a gift. So let's get into the sparkle, because in your short young life, was there a time where you lost your sparkle? I did it in my marriage, right? And then I found myself again. Was there a time in your life that happened?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
I didn't really know the depths to which I was afraid of men, had disdain for men, until I started studying them. Then it got revealed, and I'd been hurt. I'd been really scared. I'd been mistreated and put up with it. All the things that we go through. And but I want to say something about what you said before, Ingela, is that the fear that women have is a man's desire to take care of us is because he thinks we can't take care of ourselves. And so we have to prove to him that we can. They know we can take care of ourselves. They're just excited by what can we be if they were taking care of us. Or another way, one man put it, he said, I want to do everything for my wife that I can do so she can be everything I could never be.
Oh, my heart.
Yeah. 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 Let me open the door so you can sparkle.
Yeah.
Right. Because they don't.
Right.
Right. And when we're sparkly, it literally gives them life. And receptivity is every woman's hardest thing to be out of that list. And being receptive to who men are and be receptive to what they're compelled to give us, the way they're compelled to take care of us. And so many of them, their love language is acts of service. And we block that again and again and again. And women think, and men are stunned by this when I tell them, we think if I don't need you, I'm more attractive to you.
If I'm independent, I know. Yeah.
Well, and there's a difference. I mean, to them, independence, they admire independence, except for they worry because we'll do things, for example, when we're dating, and if they're looking for a partner, they'll be like, would she make that decision on her own if we were married? Oh dear. Would she? And it's a funny little thing, Ingela, that like we think at a certain sort of stage of relationship, now you have a right to have an opinion about what I do with my life. Until then, you have no rights.
Right.
So I'm just going to report to you, oh, I'm selling my house. You're selling your house? You haven't mentioned anything about you're selling your house. Well, why would I? It's my house. And they're like, oh, and it's a trick thing. It's very practical, but to ask a man who we're developing trust for, don't ask for his opinion, but you could say, I'm making a big decision in my life, and I'm wondering, given your experience, if you would have any input or any questions or any things you think I should research. So you're not asking him to tell you what you should do.
Right, right.
And then all you have to do to respect him having spent his time on that is ask that question. So I did ask that question you told me to ask, and this is what I came up with. And I'll be like, good. That to them is respect. We ask for input and then we take their input. So women are so like, don't try to touch my life. And after you've married me, then you have a right to say certain things about my life.
Right.
And they're actually looking to partner.
Right.
They have challenges with it, just like we do, because it's not instinctual, but they're looking for a partner. And so when we're proving how much we don't need them, then they're like, well, I should find someone who does. Like,
exactly.
I can't make your life better. You don't need me for anything. And I encourage strong women, which we all are, to answer the question, well, so what do I need men for? I don't need him to pay my mortgage. I don't need him to make my car payment. I need him to rub my back. I need him to encourage me. I need lots of hugs. I need sex. I need to be admired. I need wow, right?
Yeah.
What do we really need?
Yeah.
Instead of I don't need him for anything.
Yeah. And for me, so more so what can I provide for them? Like, it's like, because I know in a relationship, it's how you learn and how you grow. Because many are like, well, I'm not ready for a relationship because I'm working on myself. Well, amazing, please do. But if somebody fantastic comes into your life, don't put them to the side. Like, enjoy it. Like, just take it in and just imagine what you guys can do together. Like, if you have each other's back and you push each other and you just have that connection, I want that so badly. It's like my stomach is just churning. It's just like, I'm waiting for that, where you can just, it's that safety that I got you, you got me. And they make you a better person and they push you, right? Like, I need to be pushed, and but I also feel like somebody has my back, right? As well as I want to be there for them and have their back, you know, without coaching.
Yeah, it's something for each of us to sort out.
Yeah.
If you're going to be an important part of my life, this is what you provide, and this is what you receive.
Yeah.
But most people pay attention to what they want to get from a relationship, but what we want to give and it being valued and well received is part of what makes it fulfilling. It doesn't matter how much we get if we're not also allowed to give what's ours to give. And so it's something else to articulate as we're getting clear about what we're attracting into our lives. what is it that we want to give? So put that on the list. They love this about me. They appreciate this about me. They're grateful to me to provide.
Yeah, I love that.
Really important.
It takes me back to when I was married. I think I was in the mindset of, what can I get? Oh, I should have this. It's like this, like, because I think the biggest problem was I did not know myself before I got into a relationship. I was young, so I hadn't established me. I hadn't fallen in love with me. I did not know who I was. So then I shifted and I became this other person, and I put myself in a box. And I broke out of the box. And here I am, sparkly. And so even like my friend was asking, like, what are before, and I'll circle back to the sparkle thing, but like, what are some ways as a dating, if we're dating, what are something we need to have or work on before we even get into a relationship? Because I missed that in my first marriage. I don't have a second one yet, but I will have it. Is there certain things that we should like, well, you should have self-love, for example, like what are maybe like a few things that we should be like, just.
Yeah, I can tell you really practically. So think, for example, darn, it's on the other side of the room. If you think about something that's sparkly, right? Like this is cut glass, but I have some Waterford over there and it's all sparkly. So if you think of what makes something sparkly, there's a cleanliness to it. There's a clarity to it. There's a life force in it. And so if we're going to be sparkly, right, to ourselves and for others, one of the things to do is actually look to see, and this isn't going to sound fun, but the results are stunning. One place to look is to shame, to look in ourselves in that, like that feeling in the gut that is the worst. And what harm have I caused that I need to own and forgive myself for? And it's part of what I would call harvesting. So if you think of your entire past, you were planting seeds, whether they were seeds for weeds or seeds for, gorgeous oak trees. We were always planting seeds, and there's this harvest. And so we can look and see, so where am I ashamed? Our shame comes from having betrayed our own values, having not lived up to the person we wanted to be. So owning that, right? So I harmed this man when I was so nasty to him in the way I responded to what he said when he tried to push me, because I don't like being pushed. and I was mean. I was actually really mean to him. I was cruel to him. Oh God, I don't want to talk about that, but I need to own it. I need to own it. And I own that. I forgive myself for it. And how did I get there? How did I get there so I don't have to be that person again? Oh, I tried to have a tough conversation with him when I was really tired. Write that down. Don't go on a date tired. Don't try to have an important conversation tired, right? Like, get rest, restore ourselves, right? So there's all kinds of ways to feed ourselves. Feed yourself first. And then there's the other side, like, where am I on guard and really sensitive because I was wounded? So the first I call noble forgiveness, when we own the harm we've done, including to ourselves, when we betrayed ourselves, and forgive ourselves. And then there's noble healing. You can actually have someone stand in. Like, one of the things that's in our curriculum on it regularly is just, I provide what's called noble healing. It's just compassion. I'm so sorry for anything and everything that's ever happened to you where you feel diminished, that you were treated as less than, where you became self-conscious and wondered what was wrong with you. I'm so sorry that happened. So there are specific things that we can actually get healed from, become whole. All of this stuff I teach in a course called Extreme Freedom, which has no prerequisites. It's on our website. It's for everybody. It's not nearly the fun of understanding women, which is hilarious, but it's a good companion to our Understanding Women online course, which, by the way, is completely updated from the Understanding Women that's on Audible. It has so much more information, and so much more information than Tony teaches, because he watched the original video back in 2006. It was the original one, and it's completely updated because I never stop. So part of making ourselves sparkly is letting ourselves shine again, which will happen when we heal the wounds that we've picked up along the way. Right. And to love ourselves by having restored our respect and admiration for ourselves. So there's one of the things I do in my life that has me stay sparkly is I pay attention to, is there anything I'm doing that costs me respect for myself? Is there anything that I'm doing or not doing that costs me admiration for myself? And then I go do it. I do things that make me proud of me. Do you know, and it's important. It's really important.
I love that, because I think, well, as women too, the self-care piece, like, it's selfish, like I don't have time. So I always say we have to fill our own cup first. And like we have to do things that gives us joy and sparkle. Like having these conversations brings me so much fulfillment and love, because it just fills all my cup, and it's just, we get to be an inspiration, we get to influence, we get to spread love and help women and men be better version of themselves and stepping up to life and saying yes to themselves. And it's just, it's a gift.
Can I say what you said in another way that might help women?
Absolutely.
And men?
Yes.
So how most people prioritize relationships once they have them is like two half-empty swimming pools trying to fill themselves up from the other.
I love that.
So we spend ourselves out in the world, we spend ourselves on our children, on our careers, on our friendships, on our community work, and then we come home tired and we try to get filled up from the other person. And men have an acute sensitivity towards emptiness. They're perceptive about emptiness and they stay the heck away. And they do. There are very few men who want to fill an empty pool. And the ones who do,
like a lot of work.
And the ones who do, it's a little scary because there can be a lot of ego in it. And so what they are looking for is a full swimming pool. And if we actually give ourselves what we need, like enough sleep, like enough alone time, like getting to talk to our best friends, like moving our bodies, even if it's just dancing around naked at home by ourselves, right? When we give ourselves these things, what's possible is to cause overflow, not just full, overflow. And we overflow as ourselves. And it's actually, my boyfriend and I don't live together, right? I was married for, 26 years and together for more than that before Greg died. And one of the things that happened as a result of that was I found out how much better I am with a lot more time alone. And so I live 90 steps from my boyfriend. And we pay attention to filling ourselves up and then coming to be with each other. Yes. And even yesterday, we were planning about, if we ever move from where we are, how to keep not living together. Even if all that's between us is a garage, do you know that we still have these our own spaces where we're only in the other person's space by invitation. Look how much we walk into a living room and want to sit down and read, and somebody's already there doing something, right? So someplace else to find peace, right?
I love that, because it's so true. Like we try to fill each other's cups, and it doesn't work, right? We become unfulfilled and we think they're going to complete us. I'm like, no. I mean, yeah, you may work for a little bit, but not the kind of love that's going to last forever. Like, and it takes work to be in a relationship. So let's talk about, like, you talk about filling our needs, right? Because for me, that's like how we come into that feminine essence, and how we really, like, because I feel like when we fill ourselves from the inside out, then that's how we start to sparkle, right? So what are some ways that we can do that? The self-care, right? But really then where we can step into that feminine space, because I know there's certain ways that we can do that specifically through you. I just read it in the book. When she went to go, where he went to San Diego, and she had to become, because he was becoming
keys to the kingdom.
Yeah. And then so he had that, I love that, the transition of men. And how he became king, what she had to do to meet him. And it's so true, because you can look back into your past and relationship and go, oh my goodness, he was a knight. Well, this is with the kid. I mean, it's mind blowing.
Yes.
And it explains so much. Like, oh, I understand now why he was working all the time. He was the prince. He was trying to build a cat. I mean, mind blowing. So like, can
I connect some dots in here?
Yes.
Okay. So Keys of the Kingdom, which is the prequel to the Queen's Code.
Yes.
So it's 4 of the 8 characters that are in the Queen's Code, and it describes the stages of development. And how that's relevant to sparkle is we don't sparkle when we're disappointed. And we're often disappointed by expecting, if a man loves us, there are certain things that he will do, and we don't know he can't do them, no matter how much he'd like to, that he can't do them because of his stage of development. And so a whole lot of healing happens just by understanding what they couldn't give us, and that it didn't mean what we thought it meant. And yeah, Karen does some things to fill her own tanks while her husband is searching for himself, right? In his midlife crisis, is what most people call it. And there's 2 ways to look at it. One is there are things that are just really common in terms of filling us up. Sleep. Sleep is the most important thing for men and for women. Yeah. The capacities we get from having enough and even more than enough sleep. Unfortunately, many people pride themselves on how little sleep they need, and then we end up with diminished capacities. Another way to look at it, if you want to specialize, is think of a quality that you want to be. That if you were being that, you would love yourself for that. Like if you're being compassionate, if you're being generous, if you're being patient, if you were kind, if you were playful, it could also be focused, right? It doesn't have to be all what we think of as feminine qualities. But if I was being that, well, the challenge is embodiment. So you can be any quality that you have the feeling of in your body. So if you have no feeling of patience in your body, you can't find patience anywhere, the best you can do is pretend to be patient. And that's nasty. Pretend to be compassionate, pretend to be loving, right? No, the real stuff. And, you rattled off the qualities really quickly, but authenticity is the second most attractive quality in a woman. And so to be real, which means men have this word sincerity. And sincerity is when the words and the feelings match. They're so much more sensitive than we know. So they can tell when we're saying one thing, but we're feeling something else. And it's so natural to them, they don't even know they're doing it. They think, they've bought into, they're insensitive. No, they're like, I hear what you're saying, but it doesn't feel right. And they may not say it out loud. They're just unmoved, completely unmoved by what you said, because it was incongruent. So we got to get it in our bodies first. And everybody does it somewhat differently. I go out and give my donkey some carrots and interacting with him, interacting with the mounds of snow between me and him. I literally wade through the snow to get to my donkey. But just being in nature like that, the extreme conditions, giving him a scratch, taking care of him, I come back filled up. Even though it was 6 degrees when I did it yesterday.
I don't know about that.
But each of us has our own things. And I mean, we spend hours and hours on this in our Being Extraordinary courses, but if we can identify the highest octane, right? And I had to wade through the snow to get to Dan's house last night to do what we call it a lie down. He named it a lie down, and something we do every day. We lie down, we snuggle, we talk, we spoon. Sometimes we get frisky, but we make sure we're side by side. And it was really cold out. His back is a wreck. He needed to not go into the snow. It was going to be on me. And we're talking on the phone. And he's like, "You're deciding what would make it worth it?" And I'm like, "Yeah. Okay, honestly, 7 minutes. 7 minutes of being with you would be worth waiting through all that snow." So that's why I moved here, so I could touch you every day. And he's like, "Cool." So he's a huge tank filler, right? Just a hug from him, and I'm better off. So just little tiny things that we can identify that make us a better person, or more our better person, right?
Yeah.
Another question you can ask yourself is, what will I be happy to have done? So instead of what do I want to do today, what will I be happy to have done? And sometimes you don't want to do that thing at all, but when you see you'll be happy to have done it. I mean, that's why I waded through the snow last night to go spend a half an hour with him, right? And I'm glad I did. I was happy to have done it. Even when I fell.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
I thought for a moment I was going to be crawling through the snow. I couldn't get out. Oh, it's crazy. We've had like 3 feet of snow in the last 5 days.
Oh,
It's
wow.
insane. Yeah.
I'm in sunny San Diego. I can't complain.
Yes. Can I tell you one more thing that'll help with sparkle?
Oh, please tell me, and everything.
Okay. So there's a saying, right? You've probably heard that what you resist persists.
Yes.
Right? So it's one of the principles of transformation. What you resist persists. Yes. Well, another thing that not so many people know is that the effort of resistance makes us tired. And we don't sparkle when we're tired.
Right.
So one of the ways that you can reignite your sparkle is notice what you're resisting and try, in the Sedona method, it's called welcoming. Try welcoming what you're resisting. So, for example, when my husband died, I was sad. I missed him, right? And sometimes I was mad. He wasn't doing any of his chores. And he left all his stuff behind, and he had a lot of stuff, right? So I'd be sad or I'd be mad. And when I was sad, I'd try to not be sad. And when I was mad, I'd try to not be mad. I mean, what kind of woman is mad at her dead husband, right? And it was exhausting until I developed the muscle to, when I was sad, to welcome being sad. Okay, I'm sad right now. I'm just going to be sad. And if I just let myself be sad, it disappeared so quickly. If I let myself be mad, I've been known to yell at him.
What? You?
Yeah. Much more. I never yelled at him when he was alive, but after he died, I
Oh, okay. Okay. Like, wait, you, Alison Armstrong, yelling at a man? No.
Nah.
Yeah.
Greg and I, though, had a deal I could hang up on him because he was self-deprecating, and to me, he was Superman. And he would say something that was like, I can't do that. And I'd be like, now you're just lying. And so we had an agreement that I could hang up on him so I wouldn't say anything mean. Because I never wanted to say anything mean. So he knew if I hung up on him, I was protecting him from me. And if I went in our bedroom and closed the door, don't come after me. I'm protecting you from me.
Good.
But the point is, if we can, let's say, for example, you're on a date and this man is talking and talking and talking. He's tooting his horn. That can be exhausting for a woman, right? Because we want you to be interested in me. We've heard enough about you. Be interested in me. Well, if we can welcome him expressing himself, wow, he's trying really hard to impress me. He must be really attracted to me. He must think I'm something special, right? And then just like listen to learn, like, what's important to him? All these kinds of things we teach in our curriculum. Then we can sit there and be sparkly instead of be getting more and more, how do I get out of here? Yeah. And because when they care about us, they get crazy trying to impress us. And they don't know that we interpret it as they're competing with us, right? Which then, why are you competing with me? Don't you respect me? Right? It just goes downhill. Yeah.
I want to touch back to the resist what you resist persist. What if you just can't figure out what you're resisting? Like, I think for me,
you don't have to.
You don't have to?
No, you can welcome everything you're resisting, whether you know what it is or not.
Okay.
You can I have a releasing partner, right? And she calls this the heaven on earth release because I made it up. And could you welcome anything and everything within you and around you, past, present, and future, from the minuscule to the universal, that doesn't serve heaven on earth? Could you let all that be here? You didn't have to know what it is. You can just welcome it all. And then you're not resisting anything. And all of a sudden, boom, you get your energy back.
Say that again, everybody. I'm going to really go back to this one.
That's why it's recorded. They can rewind it. Yeah. You don't have to know what you're resisting. You can welcome. I welcome anything that I'm resisting. And it doesn't mean you're going to have an avalanche fall on your head. It just means you're letting it be. And you let it be, it lets you be.
Letting things be. Surrendering. That is new to me. Like, just because in my past, and I've been working on this, being, trying to have it my way, being controlling, all of that. And I released it all in my day-to-day life. I'm very playful, sporadic. I don't like to make plans, playful, anything. In comes an intimate relationship. It's like, it's hard to let that go. That's what I was resisting. But I didn't understand that that's what I was kept doing. And now I'm working on it, and it is hard.
Well, instead of having it be hard, trying to change it, what if when you find yourself being controlling, you just welcome it? Yep, I'm being controlling right now.
Just letting it go.
And then boom. Yeah, trying to not be what we are takes a tremendous amount of effort. And I remember one time I wasn't kind to Greg, and I said, is really early on, even though we, knew we were going to have a family together, I said, I'm sorry, I'm just cranky. And he looked at me and his eyes teared up, in these beautiful green eyes, and his eyes teared up, and he went, cranky? You're just cranky? You can say that? And yeah, I'm just cranky. And he's like, oh my gosh, there was nothing for him to fix.
Darn.
You didn't have, it's just like, oh, you're cranky. Okay.
Yeah.
And, and sometimes I'll get hurt, and my boyfriend, Dan, he'll say, do you want to hug it out? So, yeah. Right. Or I'm not, can you say sorry first? Or I'm pissed. I'm not ready to hug it out yet. Would you like to talk?
I want to be in a fly on the wall in your house, in his house, and like to see the interaction. I would be like, this is so great.
Yeah. And it, but to be human is to try to control. To be human is to try to plot and plan and strategize. And it has a stop being present, just like resistance is not being present. And all the magic, all the sparkle, all the everything shows up when we're present. Yeah.
The control, after when you understand it and you let it go, and it's like freeing. It is such a freeing experience. And control sounds so bad now. Now I'm like, no, I'm not controlling. No. Like I catch myself. But because to me, I put control as a bad word because I don't like it. But just let it go. Put some love on it. Maybe think, why am I feeling this way right now? What is actually like happening in here? Are you worried? Are you scared? Because that's what control is about, is the other feelings, what's underlying that, for example. So you don't want to put that on somebody else, because that's your thing that you're dealing with.
Well, can I give you a different point of view?
Please do. Expand.
And it's not because anything you said wasn't true. It's just, near as I can tell, there are only 3 things we actually can control.
Yes.
And the rest is out of control. We can control what we're being. Yes. We can cause ourselves to be particular ways, including filling ourselves up with that quality, right? But also consciously choosing. So for example, I encourage my smart singles to decide ahead of time. This is a first date, a second date, a third date. I'm getting together with someone. I think this is the one. Okay, so decide ahead of time, what qualities are you committed to being? And then make sure you get what you need in order to be that. This is what Karen did in Keys of the Kingdom. Well, that's the most important thing that we can control, is how are we being? Yes. And notice, for example, if you're being suspicious, not a good quality for any date, suspicious, right? So what are you suspicious of? Do you need to ask a question? and you can even ask them on the phone ahead of time. Before we get together, I noticed that I had this concern. We've talked a lot about such and such. Is that all you're interested in about me? Is there anything else you're interested in about me? And then put the imaginary duct tape over your mouth and listen. You probably kept expressing it because it seemed like a safe topic. It doesn't mean that's all that's there, right? So being is one thing we can control. The next most important thing we can control is how are we listening? And we talk about all this, by the way, in a program we have called Lux, which is also an entry-level program. And there are normal ways that human beings listen that cause us to interact with other people. So, for example, one of the things that's common is if somebody counts on their intellect to be successful, then when someone else is talking, the question at the top of their mind is, what do I think about that? What do I think about that? What do I think about that? Well, then the other person stops talking, or you even interrupt the other person to tell them what you think about that. And then they don't feel seen or heard. They may even feel disrespected, especially a man, for being interrupted. Or what do I know about that? Some people listen, what do I know about that? What do I know about that? And you can always tell because when you're done talking, they tell you what they know about that. Or they might be listening, how do I feel about that? How do I feel about that? So most of what's happening in a conversation is we're in a conversation with ourselves. What do I think? What do I know? How do I feel? And we wonder why we're not connecting with the other person. Right? So one of the things we teach in our curriculum are all these different ways to listen. Like if you listen, what's important to them? So they're talking about golf and you're listening for what's important to them instead of, I hate golf. I don't hate golf, but a lot of people do. Like what's important to them? Oh, it's important to them to be out in nature. It's important to them to move their body. It's important to them getting better and better at something. It's important to them to connect with their friends. Oh, that's important to them. I can get behind that, right?
Yeah.
Or another way to listen that's really powerful is with the question, what's true for them? Instead of do I agree with them or disagree with them, what's true for them? What's true for them? Someone could be talking about anything. If you're listening what's true for them, you're going to end up potentially with a really cool connection, and for sure with information that lets you know, do I want this person in my life? No, what's true for them doesn't work for me. I don't care how cute he is. I don't care how many things on my list he checks off. What's true for him would drive me nuts. So let's not do this. We get information faster.
I love that. It's just because when you said that, they talk about golf, and all I can think about, oh gosh, is he going to be playing golf every weekend? See, doing it in my head, as you were talking too, when you said this is what we do. And it's not just in relationship with men, it's with our friends and family and all of that. So if we can learn to listen with that intent, that's beautiful. Like if we can give that gift to another person.
Yes.
Just by listening.
Oh, it's huge. It's tremendous. I recommend practicing it with everybody. Yeah. Especially when how they're being is a way that's scary to us. Like if someone's angry or frustrated, if you're listening what matters to them. Yeah. You have a whole different way of being with the emotion that could be frightening to us or make us feel out of control. The third thing that we're in control of is what are we speaking for? So one of the problems, well, the biggest problem, Ingela, is human instincts. So we'll speak to impress, we'll speak to intimidate, we'll speak to persuade and manipulate, we'll speak to attract, right? So we say the things that we think will be attractive. But what if we spoke instead to be known? What if we spoke instead to be true to ourselves? So Can I give you an example?
Please do. I'm mesmerized. I love this. Adding my little coach.
So one of the things I recommend is for men and women, before you, even if you're already in a relationship, it doesn't matter. Write down what's true about you that you're not going to change. This is how you are, and it's not going anywhere. And then look and see, okay, does my significant other know all that? Or if I'm dating, am I telling that about myself early on? So one of the things we can do is be like, okay, what do I want them to know about me? What would be important to know about me? So for example, Dan and I were set up, right? And when we spoke for the first time, which was after like a 5 days of texting back and forth and being playful and learning some stuff about each other, he called and in the first 15 minutes, I said, "Did Valerie tell you I'm a widow?" And he said, "Yes, I'm very sorry for your loss." And I received that. And then I said, "Well, something you should know is that my husband's very involved in my life, and he probably picked you." And I'm thinking in my head, if you're going to run
or not run.
No, I'm thinking if you're going to run now. Yeah. Because my husband to this day is still providing for me. The veil is very thin. He's still taking care of me and my family. It's crazy. I know. But I have books that I write in 3 weeks because I just had to type a movie, right? I mean, I have freaky parts of my life. They've always been there. If you're going to be with me, you got to have space for freaky stuff. So I told him something freaky and then waited to see how he reacted. And he was really quiet. And I'm just like, run now. And then he said, I can feel him. Nice Aww. Energy.
Oh,
like, oh, well, okay, this will work.
Yeah.
He has never had a single bit of resistance to Greg's role in my life.
Wow.
None at all. In fact, he drove Greg's car home from my house after I moved here. And he's like, "Okay, so what kind of products did Greg use to take care of the Boxster? Because I want to make sure we take care of it the same way."
I love that. Oh, I love that so much.
Yeah. So whatever's true for you, right? Whatever's true for you, represent it early and often. And if someone doesn't want to be with someone like that, they'll go away. Yeah. They'll save you a whole lot of heartache. So if we listen to know the other person and we speak to be known, and then they don't try to change that about us. They're like, "Okay, I get that. That's who you are." Yay.
Yeah.
I sent Dan before I met Dan, I sent him a picture of me on my tractor. This is part of who I am. I drive a tractor. And I had this fierce look on my face. My best friend took the picture. I was like, nothing pretty about it, nothing feminine about it.
It's like, that's not what I expected of this understanding man queen. What?
Yeah. So my tractor lives here now too, and my tractor's heavily involved in moving snow. And he thinks I'm, my highest compliment is monster. To say someone's a monster at something, it's like, you're a monster on your tractor. And so fly your flag, whatever it is, whatever it is.
Right. Yeah, I love that. Making a list of, and it's all about getting to know ourselves, right? Also, when we're writing a list like this, it's like, what is really what I love and all these things. That is good.
And like that conversation when you're listening to yourself, a most common conversation, especially women having with themselves, is, "What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me? What's wrong with me?" And then we'll answer it.
Yeah.
And switch the question to what's true for me. What's true for me, what's real for me, what's important to me, what matters to me. And
Yeah.
even when you come down to it, answer the question, finish the sentence, I am better off alone than being with or around a person who isn't. Like all the ways they gotta be, or I'm truly better off alone. That's how you end up in an amazing relationship. You don't sell out for, at least I'm not lonely.
Right.
At least I have someone to go to movies with.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather be alone than be with someone who wasn't spiritual, who wasn't generous, who wasn't kind, who wasn't energetic, who wasn't fill in the blank.
Yeah. So let's round out. I know you have some more notes about bringing that sparkle out.
I got to tell you everything I wanted to tell. And you started with it, because being in love with men will have a sparkle, and to know them is to love them. And they're human and they're not perfect, but they also, if you treat them with kindness, what they're willing to be accountable for and held to account for is astonishing.
Yeah. And I love, because if we fall in love with them, we will fall in love with us, because as we are learning how to understand them and communicate with them, we learn so much about ourselves, because that's where it starts, right? It starts with us. Like that's.
I see it more like a spiral. Like it's us, them, us, them.
It's all connected.
Yeah, it's like a prism. We keep reflecting back and off of each other, and it can be beautiful.
That is a true sparkle. See, I did not know before we talked that you were all like, yes, sparkle, yes, yes. It's amazing. Any last thoughts to just round it all off? Like, I love the prism. That's like, I can see it. It's like, and you're radiating the light. Like, I know I sparkle more when I'm with a man. Like, I light up a lot. I have a light, but I light up even more when I'm with a special man. It's just beautiful.
Yes.
And they make me feel that way.
Well, I would just, since your audience is mostly women, I would say two things. One is, after studying men for a long time, like 17 years, was when I created a workshop for men and women to understand women. And the more we can understand the good reasons for why we do what we do, the less we'll beat ourselves up and the less criticism we'll accept from other people, which is really important. And then the other thing I would say is men love women. We don't have to get them to love us. Right. We just have to let them love us. We don't have to get them to. In fact, the things we try to do to get them to love us has them not love us.
Yes.
Be you, do you. They'll show up. The right people show up.
Yes. That's golden. Yeah, and do check out, you have so many new curriculums and all these new, like all on your website, and will all be listed below. Go look at it. I have taken some in the past. I tried to go back on, and it's been a few years, so I didn't be able to get into my content, but like I have done numerous of your workshops, not in person, but online, and I highly recommend them. And now you have so many new things. Yes. And I'm ecstatic. It's just, she just radiate, just love, compassion. This just, I want to hug you.
Thanks. Thanks. We come to you.
Ooh, it's so good.
Okay,
so
I'm gonna run. It was awesome.
I'm going to say thank you. Thank you to the audience. Thank you to you. This has been amazing. And again, I'll see you guys next time, and much love to you, Alison. Thank you.
Thank you, Ingela. Bye, everybody.